Welcome back 2 days of our Lives channel. Today we will learn about the explosive developments brewing in Salem this fall that promise to shake the very foundation of several beloved families. The upcoming season brings with it a tapestry of interconnected storylines that will leave viewers on the edge of their seats as secrets unravel and long-buried truths emerge from the shadows. The DiMera dynasty under siege. The illustrious DiMera mansion finds itself at the epicenter of unprecedented turmoil as family loyalties are tested and dangerous alliances form. Chad DiMera's world is about to be turned upside down as his growing suspicions about Cat Green's investigative work for his brother EJ begin to consume his thoughts. What started as professional curiosity has evolved into deep-seated concern that threatens to fracture the already fragile relationship between the DiMera siblings. Cat Green, originally brought into EJ's orbit for her sharp investigative skills, finds herself walking a treacherous tightrope as she delves deeper into her employer's mysterious activities. Her relentless pursuit of answers leads her down a dark corridor toward EJ's most closely guarded secret, a sophisticated private laboratory where he conducts experiments that could potentially devastate Salem's residents if exposed. The sterile walls of this hidden facility conceal research that goes far beyond conventional medical science, touching on territories that would make even the most hardened DiMera ancestors proud of their heir's ruthless ambition. The tension between Chad and EJ reaches a boiling point as Chad's protective instincts kick in, not just for Cat but for the entire family legacy. Having survived numerous battles for the DiMera name and fortune, Chad recognizes the telltale signs of his brother's descent into the same obsessive patterns that have historically brought destruction to their bloodline. The laboratory experiments represent more than just scientific curiosity. They symbolize EJ's transformation into something his father Stefano would have both admired and feared. Tony's Machiavellian masterpiece. Meanwhile, Tony DiMera emerges as a master strategist orchestrating an elaborate scheme that targets the vulnerable Kiriakis empire. His calculated approach to reclaiming DiMera supremacy involves exploiting the existing fractures between Xander and Philip Kiriakis, two brothers whose relationship has been poisoned by betrayal and violence. Tony's keen understanding of human psychology allows him to identify the perfect moment to strike, using their mutual animosity as the foundation for his ambitious takeover plan. The brothers' tumultuous history provides Tony with the perfect opening for his machinations. Xander's discovery of Philip's inheritance fraud, followed by the brutal physical confrontation that nearly claimed Philip's life, has created an atmosphere of mistrust that permeates every corner of Titan Industries. Their attempts to maintain a professional facade while running Titan DiMera together have resulted in a powder keg situation that threatens to explode at any moment. Tony's weapon of choice in this corporate warfare comes in the form of the seductive and cunning Gabby Hernandez, whose personal vendetta against the Kiriakis brothers aligns perfectly with Tony's larger objectives. Gabby's determination to reclaim control of her fashion empire, Gabby Chic, fuels her willingness to participate in Tony's dangerous game of manipulation and seduction. Her plan involves playing both brothers against each other, using her considerable charms to extract crucial information while simultaneously undermining their already shaky partnership. Stephanie's haunting past returns. In a completely separate but equally compelling storyline, Stephanie Johnson faces her most terrifying nightmare as fragments of her traumatic past begin to resurface. The successful publication of her steamy romance novel One Stormy Night was supposed to represent a new chapter in her life, but instead, it threatens to awaken a sleeping demon from her romantic history. The autobiographical elements woven throughout her fictional narrative contain enough identifying details to potentially alert her dangerous ex-boyfriend to her current whereabouts and circumstances. Jeremy Horton's impending return to Salem carries with it the weight of unresolved trauma and the promise of psychological terror. Their relationship, which ended years ago under circumstances that still give Stephanie nightmares, represents one of the darkest periods of her adult life. Jeremy's history of violent behavior, including the terrifying incident where he nearly drowned Stephanie in a hot tub during a fit of rage, serves as a chilling reminder of the danger he poses to her current happiness and stability. The irony of Stephanie's situation lies in the very success she has worked so hard to achieve. Her novel, initially conceived as a therapeutic exercise to process her past relationships, has become a bestseller that draws unwanted attention from the one person she hoped would never find her again. The pseudonym Anastasia Sands was supposed to provide her with anonymity and protection, but Jeremy's intimate knowledge of their shared experiences makes him uniquely qualified to see through her literary disguise. Healthcare professionals at University Hospital have been passing around copies of Stephanie's book, praising its authentic emotional depth and steamy romantic scenes, completely unaware that they are reading about real trauma disguised as fiction. The book's popularity creates a widening circle of exposure that increases the likelihood of Jeremy discovering his former victim's new life and success. Marlena's descent into darkness. Perhaps the most ominous development brewing in Salem centers around the legendary Dr. Marlene Evans and her mysterious descent into a familiar yet terrifying psychological state. What began as seemingly natural grief following John Black's heroic sacrifice has evolved into something far more sinister and supernatural. Her recent medical consultations with Sarah Horton have revealed no physical ailments. Yet Marlene continues to experience symptoms that mirror her previous encounters with forces beyond human comprehension. The return of the Queen of the Night persona represents one of Salem's most feared phenomena, a psychological transformation that has historically preceded periods of unprecedented darkness and chaos. Marlena's dreams have become increasingly vivid and disturbing, featuring imagery and scenarios that transport her back to her most traumatic encounters with the DiMera patriarch Stefano. These nocturnal visions are not merely memories, but seem to carry an almost prophetic quality that suggests darker events are approaching. The timing of Marlena's psychological regression coincides suspiciously with increased activity surrounding Stefano DiMera's legacy and the mysterious reappearance of artifacts connected to his reign of terror. The Arabian Nights book, a tool once used by Stefano for mind control experiments, has been spotted in various locations around Salem, suggesting that someone with intimate knowledge of the DiMera patriarch's methods is working to resurrect his influence. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's continued presence in Salem adds another layer of concern to Marlena's condition. Rolf's previous attempts to implant Stefano's consciousness into unwilling hosts, particularly his successful but temporary possession of Steve Johnson, demonstrate both his capability and his willingness to cross ethical boundaries in pursuit of scientific advancement. The possibility that Rolf has developed new methods for consciousness transfer or psychological manipulation cannot be dismissed, especially given the DiMera family's current state of internal conflict and vulnerability. The Phoenix prepares to rise. The most chilling possibility emerging from these interconnected story lines involves the potential return of Stefano DiMera himself, either through supernatural means or advanced scientific resurrection. The increased focus on Stefano's portrait at the DiMera mansion, combined with Susan Banks' recent claims about sensing the Phoenix's spiritual presence, suggests that death may not have been the final chapter in the most feared villain's story. Multiple DiMera family members could potentially serve as vessels for Stefano's return, each bringing their own unique complications to the resurrection process. Tony's current machinations might be influenced by more than just family loyalty. They could represent the early stages of his father's consciousness asserting itself through familiar patterns of manipulation and control. Similarly, EJ's increasingly erratic behavior and dangerous experiments might indicate that he is already under some form of supernatural or psychological influence that connects him to his father's dark legacy. Sarah and Xander, a love that won't fade, even through life's storms. In the world of Days of Our Lives, romances often rise and fall like the tide. Couples are torn apart by misunderstandings, secrets, and outside forces. Yet, some relationships, no matter how turbulent, seem destined to find their way back to love. Few modern pairings in Salem embody this truth more than Xander Kiriakis Paul Telfer and Sarah Horton Kiriakis Lindsay Godfrey. Their story is not one of smooth sailing. Instead, it has been a winding, rocky path filled with heartbreak, forgiveness, and the kind of passion that refuses to die out. Even after years of trials, betrayals, and separations, Sarah and Xander's bond still shines through. Their love, while imperfect, has proven stronger than many doubted. And as we look ahead, one thing is certain. For Sarah and Xander, the story is far from over. But as with many great romances, their journey forward is not without obstacles. Both characters are carrying personal burdens and lingering issues that must be faced before they can truly embrace the romantic future that awaits them. The road to lasting happiness may be difficult, but if anyone has the determination to walk it together, it is Sarah and Xander. Xander Kiriakis, a man caught between his past and his future. Xander has long been one of Salem's most complicated men. For years, he has walked the line between villain and hero, never fully committing to either side. His last name, Kiriakis, carries with it a legacy of power, crime, and ruthlessness. Growing up under the influence of his powerful uncle Victor, Xander was often drawn into schemes that tarnished his reputation. He became known for his brash temper, his dangerous alliances, and a willingness to bend the rules to get what he wanted. And yet, despite this dark past, Xander has shown remarkable growth. He has repeatedly tried to break free from the mistakes of his earlier years. He has made sacrifices for love, struggled to build a respectable life, and shown surprising loyalty to those he cares about. The problem is Xander's past never truly stays buried. No matter how much good he does, there are always people ready to remind him of the man he once was. This inner struggle continues to haunt him. He wants to be the husband Sarah deserves, a man she can trust and lean on without fear. But at times, Xander himself doubts whether he can live up to that role. He still wrestles with feelings of inadequacy, guilt, and the nagging temptation to slip back into the easier, darker patterns of his past. Until he finds peace with his own identity, his relationship with Sarah will remain under strain. Sarah Horton, healing her own wounds. Sarah Horton has also carried her share of heartbreak. As the daughter of Maggie Horton, she grew up in a family that valued love and compassion, but her adult life has been marked by tragedy and disappointment. From losing her child to enduring betrayal, Sarah has often been forced to pick up the pieces of her broken heart and keep moving forward. When she first fell for Xander, many thought it was a mistake. How could Sarah, with her bright spirit and kind heart, tie herself to a man with such a dark history? But Sarah saw something in Xander that few others could, the possibility of redemption, the capacity for tenderness beneath his rough exterior, and a loyalty that, once earned, was unshakable. Still, Sarah is not without her own doubts and scars. She has a deep need for stability after so much chaos in her life. She wants a partner who will not only love her but also protect her from being hurt again. And though she loves Xander deeply, there are moments when his unpredictable choices and lingering connection to the darker side of Salem leave her uncertain. For Sarah, the challenge lies in learning to fully trust again and in allowing herself to believe that love, even when imperfect, can be enough. A love tested but not broken. Despite everything they have endured, separations and outside interference, Sarah and Xander's connection remains undeniable. Their chemistry is palpable, their devotion fierce. They are not a couple who loves gently. Instead, they love with fire and intensity, sometimes clashing, sometimes soaring, but always finding their way back to each other. It is that passion that keeps viewers invested in their journey. In a world where relationships often crumble under the weight of secrets, Sarah and Xander refuse to give up. They have both made mistakes, but they have also demonstrated the rare ability to forgive, to see the good in each other when no one else can. Their love has been tested time and again, and yet it refuses to disappear. That kind of bond is rare, both on screen and off. It is what makes their story so compelling and why so many fans continue to root for them to find lasting happiness together. What lies ahead for Sarah and Xander? The road forward is not simple. Before they can fully embrace a future together, both Sarah and Xander must resolve their personal struggles. For Xander, that means continuing his journey of self-redemption. He must prove to Sarah, to Salem, and perhaps most importantly, to himself that he can leave behind the mistakes of his past and embrace a life built on honesty and integrity. For Sarah, the task is to open her heart fully once again. She must find the courage to trust Xander completely, despite his flaws, and to accept that love is not about finding perfection, but about standing together even when life is messy and uncertain. When these two finally confront their demons and divilly, and together the possibility for a powerful, enduring romance is greater than ever. Why their story matters. For longtime viewers of Days of Our Lives, Sarah and Xander's journey is a reminder of one of the show's most important lessons: love is rarely simple. It is not a straight path but a winding road full of obstacles, requiring patience, forgiveness, and resilience. Their story resonates especially with audiences who understand that life is never without hardship. Many fans, particularly those who have lived through their own ups and downs in love, see in Sarah and Xander a reflection of reality. Relationships are not about perfection, but about persistence, about refusing to let go even when the world seems determined to pull you apart. In the end, Sarah and Xander's love is not going away anytime soon. It may bend, it may stumble, but it will not break. For them, the future remains unwritten, but the foundation they have built through pain, forgiveness, and enduring affection ensures that their romance will continue to be one of the most compelling in Salem for years to come.